Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting right down to it, to the very core of existence, really. Our mission is to unpack the incredible story of how atoms, the basic building blocks of everything with mass, actually came to be. We're digging into this really interesting piece from Science Alert. There's a physicist explaining the sort of explosive birth of it all. It kind of reminds you of that Richard Feynman quote, isn't it, the famous one?
Oh, yeah.
If he could only pass on one scientific idea, it'd be that everything's made of atoms.
Right.
And that's exactly what we're getting into today, why that simple fact has such a huge backstory.
And what's so fascinating, I think, is how that one statement, all things are made of atoms, just opens up this whole universe of questions like, where did they come from? So we'll be tracing that timeline, from the Big Bang, those first few moments, all the way to the inside of stars, and maybe even more extreme places. See how all the different types popped up?
Okay, let's dive in then. We know atoms are these fundamental bits, protons, neutrons, electrons, tiny structures. But the real question, the deep dive part, is how did these, delicate little things even survive the beginning? The universe was incredibly hot, chaotic.
Yeah, think of it like a mini solar system, right? You've got the dense nucleus in the middle, protons, neutrons, and then the electrons orbiting way out. We sort of get that picture. But the amazing part is how these tiny things formed under the most extreme conditions you can imagine. Their existence itself is kind of remarkable.
And the number of protons, that defines the element. So what makes hydrogen, with just one proton, so different from helium in terms of how they behave?
That's absolutely key. Hydrogen, just the one proton. Helium, two protons, usually two neutrons. They're the simplest and by far the most common. Together, they make up something like, 98% of all the normal matter we see?
Wow, 98%.
Yeah, and their proton count gives them totally different properties. They were the starting ingredients for, everything else.
That's just a staggering amount. So when did these first foundational elements actually show up?
Well, most of the actual atoms of hydrogen and helium nucleus plus electrons, they came together maybe 400,000 years after the Big Bang, which, scientists reckon was about 14 billion years ago. Before that 400,000 year mark, it was just too hot, too energetic. So energetic for electrons to actually settle down into stable orbits around the nuclei. It was just this hot soup, basically, an ionized plasma.
So literally too hot to handle. The electrons just had too much energy to get captured.
Exactly. The universe had to cool right down, down to about 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, roughly. That's when hydrogen and helium atoms could properly form. We call that period recombination. But even earlier, like just minutes after the Big Bang, when it was still over 1 billion degrees.
Billion.
Yeah. Even then, the nuclei of helium and deuterium, that's heavy hydrogen, were already being made. Protons and neutrons smashing together.
Minutes after the universe began. That's hard to wrap your head around. But